Good evening. This is All India Radio. I am Shariyu Chopra and with me is Nishit Kumar with the evening news. The headlines. The headlines. Second nationwide COVID-19 vaccination dry run successfully completed in 736 districts of 33 states and union territories. National COVID-19 recovery rate improves to 96.39%. Eighth round of talks between centre and farmer unions concludes. Next meeting on 15th of January. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate Pravasi Bharatiya Divas virtual convention tomorrow. Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javika launches government's digital calendar and diary app. And in cricket, India were 96 for 2 at stumps in their first innings against Australia on the second day of the Sydney Test match. As the nation fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And now, the news. The second COVID-19 vaccination dry run was successfully completed throughout the country today. The massive mock drill was conducted in 736 districts across 33 states and union territories. The objective of this dry run was a rehearsal of the actual vaccine administration process. The entire planning of the vaccination drive, including beneficiary registration, micro-planning and vaccination at the planned session site was tested under the leadership of the district collector or district magistrate. The dry run also familiarized the state, district, block and hospital level officers in all aspects of COVID-19 vaccination. Our correspondent reports that around 1,70,000 vaccinators and 3 lakh vaccination team members have been trained in the process to be followed at vaccination sites. The dry run for the corona vaccine was completed in all 51 districts of Madhya Pradesh today. State Health Minister Dr. Prabhuram Chaudhary monitored the dry run from Bhopal. More from our Bhopal correspondent.
Around 3,825 health workers participated in the corona vaccine dry run of the second phase in 51 districts of Madhya Pradesh today. A successful dry run has already been completed in the state capital during the Pan-India dry run held on 2nd January. Health Minister of State Dr. Prabhuram Chaudhary informed that dry run conducted today in Madhya Pradesh was successfully completed. He said that preparations for corona vaccination have been completed in all 52 districts of the state under the constant supervision of Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan. All health workers will be vaccinated in the first phase. The number of such health workers in the state is 4 lakhs. Pooja P. Vardhan, AIR News, Bhopal.
In Bihar, dry run of COVID-19 vaccination was conducted successfully today in all 38 districts of the state. Health Minister Mangal Pandey said dry run was conducted at 4 places in Patna and at 3 places each in remaining districts. Mr. Pandey said the state is ready for COVID vaccination. Superintendent of Nalanda Medical College Hospital, Patna, Binod Kumar Singh told AIR News that the hospital is ready to store 15 lakh vaccines vials at a time. In Assam, the COVID-19 vaccination dry run drill was carried out across the state. Senior officials of the health department visited the session sites to monitor the progress of the dry run. In West Bengal, COVID-19 vaccination dry run was conducted all over the state. In each district, mock drill was carried out in 3 places, including important health centers and medical colleges and hospitals. In Kolkata, 5 medical colleges and hospitals took part in the dry run. In Uttarakhand, dry run for COVID-19 vaccination was conducted in 130 health centers across the state today. It also includes private hospitals. In Himachal Pradesh, dry run of corona vaccine was carried out at 36 centers of the state today. In Rajasthan, dry run of COVID vaccination was held at 102 centers in all the 34 medical districts of the state. All guidelines laid down by the centre regarding the dry run were followed. In Maharashtra, the COVID-19 vaccine dry run was carried out in over 30 districts and 25 municipal corporations. Gujarat also conducted COVID-19 vaccination dry run along with nationwide dry run today. After 3 successful dry runs in the state recently, today's dry run covered the entire state. COVID vaccination dry run was conducted at 263 places in Karnataka today. Speaking to the media in Bengaluru today, Health and Medical Education Minister Dr. K. Sudhakar informed that the state is fully geared up for the actual vaccination. In Telangana, the second dry run of COVID vaccination was held at 1,200 centers across the state. Union Health Minister Dr. Harsh Vardhan today announced in Chennai that polio vaccination drive in the country would begin on the 17th of this month. The Health Minister, who is on a two-day visit to Tamil Nadu, told media that the government, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, will end COVID just like the eradication of polio. He said that since the Narendra Modi government took proactive steps to control the spread, the incidents and the fatalities were reduced considerably, prompting the attention of the world. The Prime Minister will interact with Chief Ministers of all states on the 11th of this month through conferencing. During the interaction, they will discuss the COVID-19 situation and the vaccination rollout. The government has said that the vaccination for COVID-19 is voluntary. The Health Ministry has come out with a series of frequently asked questions about COVID-19 vaccine on various aspects. The Ministry said it is advisable to receive the complete schedule of COVID-19 vaccine for protecting oneself and limiting the spread of the disease. Infected individuals should defer vaccination for 14 days after symptoms resolution, as they may increase the risk of spreading the virus to others at the vaccination site. The minister said the vaccine introduced in India will be as effective as any vaccine developed by other countries, as various phases of vaccine trials are undertaken to ensure its safety and efficacy. Eligible beneficiaries will be informed through the registered mobile numbers regarding the health facility for vaccination and its scheduled time.
The country's COVID-19 recovery rate has reached 96.39%. During the last 24 hours, more than 20,000 COVID patients have recovered. The total number of recoveries has gone up to over 1,37,000. The Health Ministry said the COVID-19 recovery rate in India is among the highest in the world. It is 89.36% in Brazil. In Russia, it is 81.17%. Italy 70.68%, USA 59.59%, and UK 47.44%. The actual caseload currently comprises only 2.16% of the total positive cases. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is around 2,25,000. Phase 9 of the Vande Bharat mission has been made operational from the 1st of this month, and 1,495 international flights have been scheduled, which will be operated from 24 countries. The Ministry of External Affairs spokesman Anurag Srivastav today said it will facilitate the return of 2.8 lakh people.
To facilitate the return of an estimated 2.8 lakh people. As of 6th January, 261 of these flights have already been operated, and these flights have facilitated the return of 49,000 people from 19 countries. This brings the total number of people who have been facilitated through different modes of this mission, which is the world's largest repatriation exercise. So since it started in May 2020, the number of people who've come back under this mission are more than 44.7 lakhs.
Flights between the United Kingdom and India, which had been suspended since the last week of December amid concern over the new strain of the coronavirus, resumed today. A flight from the UK with 256 passengers landed in Delhi at 10:30 in the morning. Flights from India to the UK started again on the 6th of this month. The Civil Aviation Ministry has informed that 30 flights will operate between the two countries every week.
All India Radio presents World News. News and views from across the globe. What happened and what is up next? The newsmakers and the highlights of the day. From 10:30 to 11 p.m. every night on 100.1 FM, All India Radio.
The government of Japan has committed an official development assistance loan of 30 billion Japanese yen, which is approximately 2,113 crore rupees, for a program loan to support India's efforts at providing social assistance to the poor and vulnerable households severely impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Notes were exchanged today between Additional Secretary, Department of Economic Affairs, Dr. C.S. Mohapatra, and Ambassador of Japan to India, Mr. Suzuki Satoshi, for a COVID-19 crisis response support loan for social protection. Subsequent to the exchange of notes, a loan agreement for this program loan was signed between Dr. Mohapatra and Chief Representative of JICA in New Delhi, Katsuo Matsumoto.
The News Services Division of All India Radio, in its bilingual live phone-in program tonight, will bring you a special discussion on COVID-19. Dr. N.N. Mathur, Director, Lady Harding Medical College, will participate in the discussion. This can be heard on FM Gold Channel and additional frequencies from 9:30 p.m. onwards. Listeners can ask questions to the expert on the toll-free telephone number 1800-115767. You can also ask questions on telephone number 011-2331-4444 and post queries on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts by hashtag AskAIR. This program will also be available on our website newsonair.com and on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official. You can also follow us on the News on AIR app for updates. The capital of northern China's Hebei province has barred people from leaving the city after it became the hotbed of the recent COVID-19 outbreak, with Hebei reporting a total of 310 COVID-positive cases, including 183 asymptomatic cases in the past week. Capital Shijiahuang accounted for most of it. Around 11 million residents of the area are not allowed to leave the city. Schools have been suspended, gatherings banned, and residential communities and villages put under closed management. All confirmed and asymptomatic cases were registered in either Shijiahuang city or Jingtai city. Both cities have launched nucleic acid testing. The worst hit Gaosheng district in Shijiahuang has been classified as a high-risk area for COVID-19, and another 17 areas in Shijiahuang and Jingtai have been classified as medium-risk areas. The next round of talks between the centre and the farmer leaders is going to be held on the 15th of January. Briefing media after the 8th round of talks with representatives of the farmers' unions, Agriculture and Farmer Welfare Minister Narendra Singh Tomar said discussion on the farm laws was taken up, but no decision could be made. He said government urged that if farmer unions give an option other than repealing, it will consider it, but no option could be presented, so the meeting was concluded.
वार्ता में तीनों कानूनों से संबंधित ही चर्चा होती रही, लेकिन कोई निर्णय आज नहीं हो सका। सरकार का लगातार यह आग्रह रहा कि रिपील के अतिरिक्त कोई और विकल्प अगर यूनियन दे तो सरकार उस पर विचार करेगी, लेकिन बहुत देर तक चर्चा के बाद भी कोई विकल्प आज प्रस्तुत नहीं किए जा सके और इसलिए आज चर्चा का दौर यही स्थगित हुआ और यूनियन और सरकार दोनों ने मिलकर ये तय किया है कि 15 जनवरी को पुनः दोपहर 12 बजे वार्ता के लिए इकट्ठा होंगे और मुझे आशा है कि 15 तारीख की जो बैठक होगी उसमें कोई समाधान ढूंढने में हम लोग सफल होंगे।
The minister said those supporting the protest are of the view that the laws be repealed, and there are many others who support the laws. He said the government is continuously talking to the unions who want these laws to be repealed, and it will also give appointment to those supporting the laws when they request the government. You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Second nationwide COVID-19 vaccination dry run successfully completed in 736 districts of 33 states and union territories. National COVID-19 recovery rate improves to 96.39%. Eighth round of talks between centre and farmer unions concludes next meeting on 15th of January. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate Pravasi Bharatiya Divas virtual convention tomorrow. Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javika launches government's digital calendar and diary app. And in cricket, India were 96 for 2 at stumps in their first innings against Australia on the second day of the Sydney Test match. For quick news updates around the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
The 16th Pravasi Bharatiya Divas PBD convention will be held tomorrow in a virtual format. Briefing media in New Delhi, MEA spokesman Anurag Srivastava said the theme of the convention is contributing to Atmanirbhar Bharat. He said the convention will be inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The spokesman said Chief Guest President of Suriname, Chandrika Prasad Santokhi, will give the keynote address. He said during the convention there will be 2 plenary sessions. The spokesman said President Ramnath Kovind will deliver the valedictory address.
There will be a keynote address by the chief guest, Mr. Chandrika Prasad Santokhi, President of Suriname. It will be followed by 2 plenary sessions. The first plenary on the role of diaspora in Atmanirbhar Bharat, which will feature addresses by EM and the Commerce and Industry Minister, while the second plenary is on facing post-COVID challenges, scenario in health, economy, social and international relations, which will be addressed by Minister of Health and Minister of State for External Affairs. Both plenaries will also feature panel discussions where we have invited eminent diaspora experts. Rashtrapati Ji will deliver his valedictory address at the final session to mark this occasion, and the names of Pravasi Bharatiya Samman awardees for 2021 will also be announced.
Mr. Srivastava said the Youth PBD was held virtually today on the theme Bringing Together Young Achievers from India and the Indian Diaspora. The special guest for the event was Minister for Community and Voluntary Sector of New Zealand, Priyanka Radhakrishnan. In an exclusive interview with AIR News, Secretary Consular, Passport and Visa, CPV Division in the Ministry of External Affairs, Sanjay Bhattacharya, outlined the theme and the context of Pravasi Bharatiya Divas this year.
Pravasi Bharatiya Divas, the convention is held every 2 years. This year, the theme is contributing to Atmanirbhar Bharat. It is relevant both from the context of COVID as well as the overall context of our national development. India today is poised to regaining its due stature in the global community, and Atmanirbhar Bharat is the key instrument that will make India reach there. We recognize the due role of Pravasis, who number 31 million across the world, in this particular adventure that we are embarked on.
Speaking about his deep-rooted Indian connection, Mr. Harish Lodhia, a resident of Fiji, said that he is still very close to Indian culture and traditions.
The diaspora in Fiji is 400,000 Indians are residing, and we are very proud to be connected to India. और इतना अच्छा लगता है, अपने आप को ये गर्व महसूस होता है, हमको खुशी होता है कि हम इंडियन हैं, फीजी इंडियन है, और हमारा जो कनेक्शन है विद इंडिया बहुत लंबा और बहुत गहरा. ये खुशी की बात है कि आज फिर से इंडिया में प्रवासी भारतीय दिवस के सेलिब्रेशंस में हमको भी मौका मिल रहा है कि हम भी कुछ बोलें और बताएं कि वी आर वेरी प्राउड.
Mr. Bhav Dhillon, a resident of Auckland in New Zealand, who's also the managing director of the largest Indian-owned manufacturing company in the field of cement and concrete in New Zealand, said that the Indian diaspora is a true ambassador of the nation. He said Indians abroad are the living bridges between foreign countries and Bharat.
हमारा यहाँ 2,50,000 स्ट्रॉन्ग डायस्पोरा है. उसका एक बहुत बड़ा रोल है इन इंक्रीजिंग द ट्रेड एंड कॉमर्स विद इंडिया, एंड दिस diaspora always plays a leading role in assisting any dialogue to grow, increase and further develop and deepen the trade relationship between Bharat and New Zealand. Overall, अगर मैं कहूँ तो जो हमारा diaspora is the main pivot of the excellent relationship India and New Zealand share today. So इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ धन्यवाद, जय हिंद.
Mr. Yogesh Chand, a resident of Sydney, says that Pravasi Bharatiya Divas has connected every Indian living abroad to each other. He also remembers Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Australia in 2014 when he expressed pride in the achievements of the Indian diaspora.
जब से मोदी जी शासन में आए हैं, दुनिया के सबसे माननीय, सबसे बड़े नेता माने जाते हैं. लोग उनकी विदेशों में चर्चा करते हैं, एक तरह उनकी पूजा भी होती है. मेरा ये मानना है, सारे विदेशों में जब मोदी जी यहाँ पर आए थे मेलबर्न में और फिजी भी गए थे, तो हमारे भारतीय जनता को जो यहाँ पर वापस है बहुत गर्व और फक्र का बात हुआ। सारे दुनिया में, विश्व में संदेश को लेकर आए कि हम एकता से मिलजुल कर कैसे रह सकते हैं। मेरी यही संदेश है कि कोविड के कारण इस वर्ष हम नहीं आ पाए, लेकिन हमने भारत में आकर दिल्ली में और यहाँ सिडनी में दिवस में भाग लिया, और जब ये रोग थम जाएगा, अगली बार जब ये दिवस से होगा, तो हम जरूर उसमें आकर भाग लेंगे।
Mr. Sameer Handa, who is chairman of the India-New Zealand Business Council and currently a resident of New Zealand, says that the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas has added thrust in establishing connections between the Indian diaspora and the business community in India.
Hello, namaste, kia ora. My congratulations to organizers of Pravasi Bharatiya Divas people in making these things happen, connecting people from these parts of the world with India, and Indian diaspora certainly plays a very important role in that, and we should continue encouraging to connect and network to promote the trade with India and other countries.
Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javika today launched government's digital calendar and diary app in New Delhi. Speaking on the occasion, Mr. Javika said that the government calendar that has adorned the walls in the past will now adorn mobile phones. He said technology has changed and there are now 120 crore mobile phones in the country. The minister said 70 crore people are using mobile phones and they are using a calendar on their mobiles. Mr. Javika said paperless governance has come to offices and files are now moving as e-files. The minister said the digital calendar is an environment-friendly initiative.
ये जो सरकारी कैलेंडर बना है अभी डिजिटल, इसका फायदा ये है कि इसमें स्मार्टफोन पर iOS या एंड्रॉयड कुछ भी हो प्लेटफॉर्म, दोनों पे वो मिलता है। ये सबके लिए यूज करने के लिए फ्री है। पहले ये पंचायत तक पहुंचता था, हम इतना छापते थे, कागज खर्च करते थे, कागज भी पेड़ से ही मिलता है तो पेड़ कटते थे। अब धीरे धीरे हमारे यहाँ ऑफिसेस में पेपरलेस गवर्नेंस आ गया, तो फाइलें भी सारी ई फाइल के रूप में चलने लगी, तो उससे बहुत ज्यादा मात्रा में ये बचत हो रहा है।
Mr. Javika said the digital calendar inaugurated today is available in Hindi and English, and it will be available in 11 languages from the 15th of this month. He said the calendar has a theme for every month, and it will also have all information about 100 revolutionary programs of the government. The app has been designed and developed by Bureau of Outreach and Communication, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Information and Broadcasting Secretary Amit Khare was present on the occasion, among others. Diplomatic advisor to the President of France, Emmanuel Bon, today called on Prime Minister Narendra Modi and discussed wide-ranging bilateral and global issues. In a tweet, Mr. Modi said he had a productive meeting with Mr. Bon. Mr. Modi expressed joy at the progress in India-France strategic partnership, a force for global good in the post-COVID world. The Prime Minister expressed satisfaction on the progress both countries have made on key aspects of the India-France strategic partnership, including counter-terrorism, cybersecurity, defence and strategic cooperation. Mr. Bon also briefed the Prime Minister on India-France cooperation on various regional and global issues, including maritime and multilateral cooperation. The Prime Minister fondly recalled his recent exchanges with President Macron and conveyed his best wishes for his health. He also reiterated his invitation to President Macron to visit India as soon as conditions permit. India and France held their annual strategic dialogue yesterday in New Delhi. National Security Advisor Ajay Doval led the Indian delegation, while the French delegation was led by Mr. Bon. The two sides held discussions on wide-ranging bilateral and global issues. India today said that the United Nations proscribed entities and designated terrorist act as proxies for Pakistani establishment to fulfill its anti-India agenda. MEA spokesman Anurag Srivastava today said it is for the international community to hold Pakistan to account and ensure that it takes credible action against terror groups, terror infrastructure and individual terrorists. On a query on Pakistan court's 15-year jail sentence to LET terrorist Zakiur Rahman Lakwi, Mr. Srivastava said the timing of these actions clearly suggests the intention of the conveying a sense of compliance ahead of the Asia-Pacific Joint Group APJG meeting and the next Financial Action Task Force FATF plenary meeting next month. He said it has become a routine for Pakistan to come up with such farcical actions prior to important meetings. On a question on line of actual control, LAC, Mr. Srivastava said the latest round of working mechanisms for consultation and coordination, WMCC, was held on the 18th of last month. He said the two sides have agreed to hold the next round of senior commanders meetings and are in constant communication through diplomatic and military channels in this regard. On another query on the issue of Indian sailors stranded in Chinese waters, Mr. Srivastava said Indian embassy in Beijing is continuously following up the issue with the relevant Chinese authorities. He said Indian ambassador has again personally taken up this issue with the Chinese vice foreign minister and requested early approval for crew change for Indian crew members aboard two ships, MV Jaganand and MV Anastasia. On a query on vaccine cooperation, the spokesman said India has been at the forefront of the global response in this common fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. He said India sees international cooperation in this field, particularly with its neighbours, as its duty. Mr. Srivastava said, in our neighbourhood, we have already provided medicines and other essential supplies. He said, we have held training sessions for experts from these countries on vaccine-related issues. On a query on H-1B visa, Mr. Srivastava said, we have taken note of the recent proclamations of the U.S. government extending by 3 more months the current suspension of entry of certain immigrants and non-immigrants to the United States of America. He said, India is engaged with the U.S. government for increased predictability in the visa regime and to minimize inconvenience to Indian nationals in the U.S. and those proposing to travel to the U.S. for bona fide reasons, including the movement of Indian professionals.
In Bangladesh, organizations for minority religious groups have demanded reading of scriptures of all the 4 major religions of Bangladesh at the beginning of parliament sessions and state ceremonies. The demand was made by the prominent minority group Bangladesh Hindu Buddhist Christian Unity Council, BHB-CUC, in its extended virtual meeting held last week. It urged the government to restore the practice of reading from the scriptures of all the 4 major religions of Bangladesh, which was introduced in the country after its liberation from Pakistan. In cricket, India were 96 for the loss of 2 wickets against Australia at the close of play on the second day in the 3rd Test match at Sydney. Earlier, the hosts were all out for 338. Ravindra Jadeja took 4 wickets for the visitors, while Stephen Smith scored 131 runs for the hosts. The hosts had won the toss and elected to bat on the opening day. The 4-match series is currently levelled at 1-1, and if India manages to win this test, the side will retain the Border Gavaskar Trophy, even if Australia goes on to win the last test at Brisbane. And now, let us take a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. The national capital will have shallow fog. The city will observe a minimum temperature of 12 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 18 degrees. Mumbai will experience generally cloudy skies with light rain or drizzle. The temperature will hover between 23 and 31 degrees Celsius. Chennai will have generally cloudy skies with moderate rain. The temperature will vary between 24 and 29 degrees Celsius. In Kolkata, there will be fog in the morning and mainly clear skies later. The city will observe minimum temperatures of 19 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 31 degrees. Srinagar will have generally cloudy skies. Temperature will hover between -2 and 8 degrees. In Jammu, there will be a partly cloudy sky. Minimum temperature will be around 10 degrees, while maximum will be around 20. Leh will have a partly cloudy sky. The minimum temperature will be around -10 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be -1 degrees. Gilgit to experience a generally cloudy sky. Temperatures will hover between -3 to 9 degrees Celsius. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Second nationwide COVID-19 vaccination dry run successfully completed in 736 districts of 33 states and union territories. National COVID-19 recovery rate improves to 96.39%. 8th round of talks between centre and farmer unions concludes. Next meeting on 15th of January. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate Pravasi Bharatiya Divas virtual convention tomorrow. Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javika launches government's digital calendar and diary app. And in cricket, India were 96 for 2 at stumps in their first innings against Australia on the second day of the Sydney Test match. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.